Get Heavy Podcast, hosted by Craig Casamas and John Scheimer.
That's the goal.
Well, hey guys, this is our first podcast together since we restarted over a year.
Did we do? We didn't do. No, we haven't done one.
Oh, we did. No, I'm sorry. We did do
We
one
did one
together
at-
in the
at-
same room.
at
But,
my house, right?
but now we have microphones. Can you tell? Fuck,
We
it's cool,
have
man.
Microphones. I see.
Give it an arch.
I see what you're saying.
You know,
there.
the
It's been
balance is a little off.
It's been a while.
Yeah. So we're here at Fatty Vegan, dude. We're gonna be doing the podcast from here. We'll be decorating it soon.
Fatty Vegan 325 South Borchard Drive.
Come on in,
Road.
bro. Come on in, Brady.
Yes, we are closed Monday and Tuesday, which is why we are here on a Monday.
That's right, baby. Tonight we're gonna be talking to Sam James Velde. I might be.
Is it
pronoun-
Veld?
I-
Valdez?
No, it's
Veld?
Velde.
Okay. For some reason, I always thought there was an S at the end,
Velde,
but
maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I haven't thought of saying it in a while.
Unofficial mayor of L.A., a man of many hats, and bands like Bluebird.
Figuratively and literally.
Literally, yeah. And Bluebird. Let's see what else. Night Horse.
How many full
Obliterations.
rimmed? How many different full rimmed hats do you think Sam has?
I don't know. I don't know.
Sam's a great dude. Sam has been a part of many bands and been a part of the same music scene. We dealt with him a lot when the fucking Wrath was alive and well. TP Records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was tied in with Power of the Riff. I don't know. He was one of the people to help put it on.
Sam was
He's
one of those.
always around. He's tied in with Converse. He's tied in with Vans now.
Yeah, Sam
He's
was
got a lot of. Every time you talk to the dude, he's got 16 other things going on.
Yeah, early 2000s LA powerhouse.
That's right, man. Dude, what's up? How the hell are you, man?
Good. I was stressed because I was on another Zoom call.
I know. You know, I realized after we set this up that you're going to probably be on a Zoom call for a solid hour. And then you're going to have to come over here and do this.
I got asked to read something, and then it went later, and I started to get hella stressed, and then I.
No, don't get stressed, man.
It's all good, man. This is actually our trial episode. So we've been doing all the podcasts from Zoom, but this is our first episode together. We set up at John's restaurant. As you know what I mean? So we're actually in the same room together for the first time. And we decided to set up some actual audio equipment so we don't sound like assholes.
When you
So
looked so professional, I watched a few little minutes of
Oh, okay.
you sent me, and I was really looking forward to your bedroom with the clothes piled up.
I know, dude. You know, I do a panic like drawer check. You know what I mean? Because I realize that like I'm a pig, and apparently so is my wife. But shit's just falling out of our drawers, so I at least try to close the drawers. You know what I mean? That's about the best I can get.
Yeah, and for me, I was just constantly at a different location every single time I might be in the same house, but never in the same part of the house.
Right. It's perfect.
So
it's 2020, man. I mean, well, now it's not.
2021.
So that's why we're getting off our ass. Excuses done.
In my mind, years don't exist anymore. It's just
What?
we're in the COVID era.
Right.
Yeah, that's very.
There's like pre-COVID, and then now there's COVID, and then there'll be post-COVID.
Yep.
It's
It's almost impossible, man. How are you? It's been a while.
I think the last time I saw you is when Obliterations played in Ventura.
Yeah.
We played a show, and then something got canceled. We stayed in Ventura, and you got us another show the next night.
That's right. Yeah. You guys came down and fucking. You had your buddy that was like fixing guitars in a van. It was like, it was awesome.
Probably,
man. Yeah. Well, you know, that's Ventura. Nothing. You know, the good news is nothing changes. You know, it's perfect, man.
Yeah, you know, pretty good. That was 6-7 years ago, man.
Right. Obliterations is done, hiatus. What's going on with that?
Oh yeah, done. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was ever like intended to like be anything, and then it started to become something. Sorry, the cat.
That's all good.
You're good. We love cats.
Actually, this isn't my cat.
Oh, so you don't love it?
No, I do love it.
Okay.
Just a random cat.
It lives next door, but it chose me.
Wow.
Getting sidetracked here.
Understandable. No, yeah, it's all good.
The window was open and the screen was there, and this cat smashed its face through the screen. This is like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I looked over at it. I was like, what? And this kid, and he just like pushed his way into my house. And he just, since then, he just comes over whenever he wants. And I didn't know his name. I just called him Pushy.
Mm-hmm.
And about a year went by, and I saw the neighbor, and I was like, "Hey, man, your cat, he comes over to my house a lot." And all he said was, "Oh yeah, he loves you."
Like they talked about it.
And I was like, "Okay, that was it."
Okay, cool.
It spends like probably most its time here, and the years went by, like 4 years, and I was like, "Hey, by the way, what's your cat's name?" And he was like, "It's Greasy," and I was like, "Okay, I've been calling it Pushy."
Yeah, perfect.
But yeah. So the Obliterations thing, yeah, that was just like we got together and we just started happening, and everybody was in other bands, and
right.
And it was like that classic thing, like, yeah, let's just make a 7-inch.
Yeah.
Like, let's show, and then it was like, oh, another 7-inch and a record, and then the touring thing got hard just because of everybody else's bands and Stephen McBean, a guitar player, he's in 2 other bands.
Right.
It was kind of like, those 2 other bands are how he makes a living. So
yeah.
It was add a third one on, and it wasn't just him, but it was all these kind of moving parts and our original drummer had to move back to Germany. It was just all these moving parts and things life just kind of went on, and it was like, oh yeah, and then I think it was a year ago, I was like, let's do another record. And it was like,
yeah, it's like,
isn't it nice though to not have everything in your life invested into a fucking band? You know what I mean? Like, I spent so many years just like you live and die by the music, and then at some point, when I left the Wrath and took a couple of years off, it was like, man, I'm in a band now. I love it, but it's not the everything to me anymore. And I'm able to enjoy it a lot more. It's really weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's in some respects, I wish that every band was just everything about the band. I think that's something that I've always wanted out of a band. It's like everything, just drop, and it's like,
sure.
I've never been in a situation where like everyone can collectively just do that,
yeah. That's kind of hard though, because it's kind of the nature of fucking LA, man.
Yeah,
everyone's in 1,000 things,
Well, and I think if you're playing like heavy music or aggressive music, it can be hard to do that and pay your rent, man.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. Yeah.
So you got to be out on the road
9 months out of the year, dude. I mean,
yeah.
It's 2 bands, High on Fire, fucking, Mastodon. The 2 bands that make money.
The genre is growing, and I think like, obviously the international thing is a way to really make the money and stuff. But yeah, it's just a grind, and
it is a grind, man.
I mean, it's like there's certain times where you're like, wow, I'm just really glad I'm not sitting in a van right now, But then of course there's times where you're like, oh man, that would be fun. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a back and forth. I mean, for me, with regards of like lockdown and stuff like that, I would say I started missing shows December, like this last December, where at first I was kind of like, okay, this is nice. This is kind of, hey, this is nice to get a kind of break where it's just like, if stuff's going on, I'm very much like, okay, stuff's going on. We got to keep going. Stuff's happening. But it was nice for me, it was kind of nice to get that break from on lockdown.
I can sort of relate to that.
Where it's like if stuff was still going, you're like me. You probably just keep, it's the endless cycle of being in it.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that we have a FOMO thing, but when you're a mover and a shaker, you want to keep going. And when it was all taken away, it gave you that break where you're like, stuff isn't happening without me. Nothing.
That's what I was gonna say. It's that's the key. So if it was happening without you, then you'd be like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
Like, we're all just kind of like,
Yeah.
It's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
This is crazy. Like, it's been.
Have you had like real time? I know you're staying busy doing, you still manage people and all that stuff. I mean, obviously, have you had a good amount of time to really slow down and process and kind of shift your views? And I'd like, for me, it totally made me like reevaluate kind of what is going on.
It's crazy because I'll give you some perspective. In 2019, I took 37 flights. 37 plane flights.
Yeah.
Right.
And I loved it, but I was so, like you had said, I was so in the machine of it all, and traveling and going to so many shows and doing all this stuff and just working on different,
different projects, different that.
Projects, working with Vans and and Thrasher and all this kind of stuff. And then everything's like, we're just like, okay, hang tight.
All right.
And I think it's certainly. I was sort of like, oh wow, like I haven't slowed down and grounded myself. It was a big shift in a good way.
Yeah.
And certainly got to sort of like get into some things that I've wanted to do. I've had this, just wanted to get, this is going to sound super corny. I've wanted to be closer to nature for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel really comfortable closer to nature. And it was always a time issue. And so being here, I'm like, okay, being in quarantine, all that kind of stuff, it's been like, okay, I'm going to go climb Mount Whitney, or I'm going to go hiking in Wyoming, or I'm going to go to Utah, or I'm going to go spend so much time in the Angeles Crest, or so I started doing stuff like that. I got really into biking, like cycling.
Yeah.
Like I did my first 100-mile ride. I did a couple 100-mile rides in the fall. Nice. I rode from Santa Barbara to LA.
Oh, nice.
Just stuff that I wouldn't have ever really even considered.
Right.
Yeah.
Time is an issue,
Well,
I've gotten really into mountain biking over the last year, and I love it, dude. I mean, I love it. I did 27 miles today. I rode up to Ojai and back. You know what I mean? And that was just on the flat, But
I mean, the time.
I fucking love it, dude. I don't know. I never would have thought I'd like it so much.
Like physical activity is good for us. It's
good
for mind. It's good for body. It makes us feel good. And I think, it was time is one thing, but it's also that mental state where you're like, I want to do this, and you're not talking yourself out of it, or you're not doing this, or you're not doing that. So there's certainly like benefits and silver linings to this kind of situation,
Well, and plus being able to that full disconnect that, like, you're emailing, texting, calling, going and meeting. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, exactly. Rocking. There's just a constant connection going on with the things that we do.
Yeah,
and
or distraction.
Yeah, exactly. Distraction. Yeah. And to be able to have that go away, I wish it wasn't in such a drastic way, but it's definitely allowed us to recenter, I think, and kind of realize what's more important,
Yeah. It's funny, though. I've also been playing music, started another band. Actually was rehearsing today with said band.
Okay.
It's called Laughing Matter.
Nice.
And I was jamming with some other people too, and just having the time and not feeling so stressed.
Yeah. It's
you don't even know how stressed you are until you really
that's the thing.
Take a step and you're like, Jesus, dude.
I didn't know it, man. Was I stressed?
You don't. Yeah, exactly. It's definitely was a realization that none of us would have known without it being just completely ripped away, because we wouldn't have given it away. Because in the setting, you're like, I got to keep doing this. I got to keep going.
Totally.
Or
I don't think any much would have changed.
No.
I think the way my things were going for me, it was like it's just gonna become more.
Right.
So like just stacking things and like crushing.
I mean, because every time I talk to you, you got 19 irons in the fire, man. It's like, it's ridiculous. So have you, like, over this time, there is an end in sight, hopefully, right? We're going to be eventually back to something. Have you, like, been able to reevaluate and decide, like, is there things that you're going to shave off and be like, I'm fucking kind of done with this for a while? Or are you just going to kind of, are you going to be able to pick and choose kind of, I know you do that anyway, but have you really, like, thought about things where you're like, I just don't need this anymore? You know what I mean? Like,
yes and no. I kind of feel like it's important to stay in the present, like I don't want to get too far ahead into the unknown because everything at this point is so unknown, and I've kind of been that way this whole time, just sitting back while everybody's like, we're going back, people are going back on tour in February or April.
No, it's not happening.
I'm like, go look at the news, everybody has a different story. Thing, and I'm just like, it's like, just stay in the present, like focus on the things that are at hand, because there's still so much going on, personally and in my professional life, and and just kind of focus on those things, and sort of kind of lean into the sort of silver linings that we're talking about. That's kind of where I'm at, and that's just kind of how I kind of live at this point, is just that sort of like, okay, we take it, one stride at a time, and sort of focus on that. We get up in the morning, we make the list of stuff we got to do, and we try to check it off, and but I've always, I guess, kind of thrived on having lots to do. And I do really enjoy that. I think something that I've really kind of taken into consideration is just to make sure that I can give enough time to those things.
Right. Yeah. We were actually talking about that a week ago or whatever. Just the fact that, we're sharks. You stop moving, you fucking die. But I've realized for myself personally that I can't juggle 16 things anymore, and I can't give everything my all anymore. Obviously, being a father and all that shit comes first, but I can handle about 2 or 3 things pretty well. And now I'm like, whereas it was always 10, 15, Shimer's double that, But I've had to really and when I say sacrifice, I mean like kind of reprioritize, like what's fucking doable for me to really get my full attention into and do it well and not half-ass things, you know what I mean? So I've decided that I got to shave it down to about 2 or 3 real tangible things that I can focus on, you know what I mean? This podcast, the band, family obviously is number 1, but that kind of shit, job is whatever, you got to do that, but for me at least, but I've had to reprioritize, like it's just been a trip over the last fucking year, plus.
Yeah, man. I mean, and who knows how long it's going to be,
Yeah. I've had, with my production company, I made one phone call in like November, like maybe end of November, beginning of December. I was like, I sent an email out to the crew, and I was like, I don't know if we need to start talking to each other yet. That was all the email said. I'm like, I don't know if we need to start talking to each other yet. I'm like, I hear different things. I'll let you know in a couple weeks if we should start talking to each other again. And then everything went to shit. And I'm like, oh, cool. I don't got to talk to anybody for a while.
I feel like, if you're like, what do you think? I'm like, I think when it's time, we're all gonna know.
Everyone's gonna know, dude.
Yeah, exactly. That's
it's not gonna creep up on us.
No,
like we're all.
Everyone's like, wait a minute, it's open. Fuck.
Yeah, it's like when you're like, whoa, look over there. There's a festival happening.
Yeah. It's like this thing just pops up out of nowhere. Like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, considering we're people that are involved in that kind of stuff, we're gonna know.
And I know. It's
funny, and we've talked about projections 1,000 times. You know what I mean? Like, fucking no one knows. I mean, I think society-wise, we might be looking okay towards midsummer, but shows and festivals and touring, it's like.
I mean,
2022, buddy. Maybe.
That's how I feel. I'm like, let's look at 2022. Maybe there'll be some rogue stuff happening.
Oh yeah, there's still shit happening. Underground, man.
Wall, there might be like, but it's just, it's such a crapshoot right now.
It is, man. It's ridiculous.
I mean,
Yeah.
So what do you got going
Yeah.
on with? Obviously, you started a new band, and you're still managing people, right? But I saw this announcement for the radio thing. So what's going on with that?
oh, so basically this band has launched this thing called Channel 66, and originally it was going to be a 24-hour radio channel, but it's Monday through Friday, and I think it's like 8 to 6. And, it's really the people that are in charge of the whole House of Bands thing for bands, which happens all over. There's one in London, and there was one in New York, and now it's in Chicago, and they're opening one in Mexico City. And it's sort of like to bring a lot of that sort of programming and energy, back,
Yeah.
And they want it to be broadcast live. So it is like we can remember what it's like to like show up for something, and then it's
Right.
Right.
So they're broadcasting from New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Mexico City. And they I've done a good amount of work with them over the years on different projects. I helped put together and facilitate this thing called Spirit of DIY, which was part of their national campaign a couple years ago, and I went into 10 different cities in the United States and helped put together these DIY shows, like literally from the ground up. I basically was just like, I'd find like a Craig of Ventura in Chicago and be like, yo man, like, you're putting on shows, here's some money, let's put on a show, and you don't have to worry about making it back. Oh, and the space that you
That's
can
rad.
space you can barely pay rent for, but let me help you with that. And we local bands and artists, and we had a lot of fun and just stuff like that. So they offered me a show, which is really cool, and it's every other Wednesday, and it's LA centric. So one way or another, we're going to talk about LA, whether you moved to LA or you grew up in LA or you just
Right.
stoked on music or art or culture from LA. It's pretty vast and diverse, so there's lots.
It is, dude. Yeah.
I want to try to bridge the gap between a younger generation and an older generation, with guests and just discussing each other's experiences and inspirations and insights, and play some music, have some conversation. And
so is it going to be a combination of like talking and guest and playing music and all that?
Yeah, and I kind of want the show in that realm to sort of dictate itself too. So if
Right.
it's just a great conversation. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to stop anybody from having a great conversation. But if there's an opportunity to play music, and especially if it's new music, I want to do that. I help put together a playlist that Bands does on Spotify and Apple Music monthly called The Spirit of DIY, where we showcase a lot of new and younger artists that are just coming up from the humble beginnings of independent labels or no label or whatever. But yeah, I'm super grateful. We had our first show last week, and I had a Tiba Jefferson, photographer, videographer, musician, music, and Flea, bass player, author.
Right.
Oh, that's amazing. I've never heard of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know who Flea is.
That's awesome, man.
But it was great. I met Flea. We volunteer in Watts weekly. There's an organization called Watts Community Corps, and we help provide food for some of the communities and neighborhoods down there weekly. And Flea's a big part of it, so I met him there. But just being, it's like he's very Los Angeles, and
and he has like a music academy and shit, doesn't he?
Yes, he has
he's always been doing that stuff too.
Silver Lake Music Conservatory, and he's helping with something down in Watts that's going to happen too. And he comes from the early '80s punk scene. Like he was around. He played in Fear, and he had a small stint in the Circle Jerks, and then of course like the whole alternative boom. Was around Jane's Addiction era. It's all eras, and just interesting, fascinating guy, you know,
Yeah.
sensitive and smart and just cool. You know?
Yeah, man. So I want to do, the reason that we started this podcast was because I want to talk to people that use these DIY ethics to create rad shit. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you have always, I mean, never, not one time have I ever got a fucking weird vibe from you. You've always fucking tried, you've always done that, whether it was, involvement in Power of the Riff or whatever you had going on and all that stuff, which I don't know how much was, but I mean, I remember talking to you, a lot about it. But
Yeah.
why is it so important for you to continue to teach and show people what these DIY ethics can fucking do?
Well, I feel like, DIY, do it yourself. I feel like it's just like, it's also like, you can do it. Like, like having someone like Flea on the show, it's like, this can be you, you don't need all this other stuff to succeed,
Right.
You
gotta have a drive.
you just got to want to do it. And in doing that, there's a community here, and hopefully this community will always exist. And I talk about that on the macro, it's like, there's like a DIY community all over the world. Lee Spielman from Trash Talk once told me, he's like, because of punk, I got a couch to sleep on anywhere in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's really something to be said about that. And I feel it's just, it was encouraging to me, as a younger person, just to learn about that. And it's so inclusive to be included in that. And it's been so incredibly inspiring. I also think that, the underground will always be where interesting art is being made.
Right.
That's not to say above ground there's not interesting art happening, but you get into a lot of commerce.
Yeah. Once you get to that,
I think the underground is the precursor to what erupts through. You know what I mean?
And it's always it has such power to influence culture, and I think in most cases in a great way.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I think it's just important to be part of that. It's like, I feel like that's just a fabric, and you're just, you have to keep sewing that fabric together or it dies, and just because I'm an older person, I still feel I have a lot. I've been a part of that for so long that it's part of what I want to do is carry that on,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you need, like, the whole point is to pass it on to the kids coming behind us.
Yeah,
if not, then it dies with us, and fuck that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, there's a younger generation. It's like, hey, you how do I do this? What would you say to a younger person? And it's like, what would I say? It's like, pick up a guitar.
Just get out there, man.
Just do it. Just keep going.
Or it's beats, or maybe it's something I don't even know.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna come and revolutionize music, or it's like, but the reality, you can do it yourself. And now I feel there's just more capabilities to do that. But it's like, you have more capabilities to actually make the music, but then how do you share the music? And that's like, you build community, you find community,
Mm-hmm.
and you make friends, and you share music, and
because even with the fact that, like, the internet is here and it's really easy to, like, make your music by yourself and put it up on the internet, beyond that, you need a community behind you, or you need a community base to help you. And that's the same as before the internet. You know what I mean? Like, you could be in a band and you can record a record, but if your friends aren't, you know what I mean? If you're not a part of the community and a part of pushing it, you're just going to fall to the wayside.
Yeah. And so how do we do that? Well, we show up, we participate.
Yeah, you show up, participate. Yeah, exactly. It's all about participation.
Our own stories, it's like, it wasn't like, here's guitar and now I'm playing. It's like, it's like I learn about something, and then I'm like, well, this is really amazing and cool. And then you find another person, and you start to talk, and then it's like, hey, this band's playing, and you go to the show, and then you're at the show, and you're like, it's like you meet someone that's doing this, and then you start taking photos, or you start doing a zine, or someone's like, I'm going to put on my own show, and you're like, how can I help that? And you start to build that community. And when it's time, okay, I have a band or art or whatever it is, like you've built a
you just-
support system, and I think those support systems are everything. And I feel like I hope I can help in supporting.
I mean, that's our job, to be the shepherd and go, hey kids, you guys are doing something that is totally different than what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like when we talk about it all the time, our kids listen to music that's fucking 37 genres in one, you know, but like you go like when I was a kid, I started a band. I was in a band that was not good enough to get on a show. I figured, how the fuck am I getting on these shows? Fuck it, I'll try my own shows. I got 4 other friends that are in band. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And so those steps, you just go, you know what, man, take a chance on yourself. Fuck it, try a parking lot. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff. Like, but you have to. There was a long time where it felt like there was gatekeepers. You know what I mean? Like not necessarily in punk rock, but definitely in metal.
Oh,
and
there's
you
punk
weren't.
rock.
I mean, and there probably is, but it's cool that like my generation, your generation. I don't feel like that. I want everyone. I want these kids to fucking figure it out. Not only that, I want them to be able to do better. I want them to be more creative, do something fucking that I would have never done. And I want them to be able to figure it out themselves. But I want to be there to say, hey guys, like, you know, in the fucking, 90s or the 2000s, when there was nowhere to play shows, we stole power from a fucking shipping, like a warehouse, and we would do shows in the loading dock. You know what I mean? Like, and that's how we figured out how to play shows. And we made enough noise to where people started to notice, or whatever it is. And I just love the fact that there really has been a shift and a change of tide of people that don't want to protect their precious little fucking gems, and now people want to be able to share and like, and enlighten kids on how it could possibly even start. Where's the starting point? It's like, take a chance on yourself. Fucking be brave enough to book a show and tell bands that, sorry guys, we didn't make shit. You know what I mean? Like, like just do that for yourself.
I think it's important to let kids know too. It's like, like maybe you're into things that people aren't into, and you feel isolated in that, or you don't feel like you can share that with somebody. You can. There's people out there that are into the same thing as you.
Right.
And maybe that's not the easiest thing to sort of find, that community, but it's there.
Oh, it's there, dude. It's on the internet. It's there. My daughter's into fucking anime, cosplay, furry, fucking everything. It's there, dude.
Or maybe there's something that maybe it hasn't even been developed yet. But I think that's part of it too. Growing up, you're like maybe you're like, man, people aren't into what I'm into. Like when I was younger, it was like there was only a couple people in two people in my school that like. I think there was one other person that liked Blast. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
It was like everybody liked the Sex Pistols, and at that point I was like, yeah, Sex Pistols is cool, but like,
have you heard Blast?
And people are like, uniform choice. Like, I'm like, yeah, they don't drink and smoke. And they're like, what? That's fucking stupid, or whatever. And you're like, fuck, man. Like, where are my people? And then you discover like, you finally find your people. And so
it's like,
yeah.
Yeah, it's like high school is this time when like you only know of a couple people, and if you can fight the good fight and make it through that, you will discover your community. After, you know what I mean? Like if you really stick to your guns and stick to your thing, you'll discover it and you'll find it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. I just think it's you've always done a really good job at displaying what DIY really can look like and really can become. And I love to see it because, it's just for me. It's just taking a chance on yourself, rolling the dice, putting in the work. Be willing. To fucking book a tour, have it fail, be the one responsible. You know what I mean? Like and. It's you have to have people like that in this world, you know what I mean? Whether it's music or not, it branches into all facets of life at this point, you know what I mean? Like for someone to be able to understand that, okay, no one's gonna hand me a fucking thing around here, and I'm not talking about pull yourself up by your bootstraps type of bullshit, but I'm just saying like you can build whatever you want, you just have to fucking try, you know what I mean? And eventually, if you're doing what you're supposed to do or what you want to do, people are going to notice. You know what I mean? You may not get famous. You may not get fucking paid, but you can be happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, and again, that's like, that idea is still really, really, really inspiring to me,
Mm-hmm.
to see people out there just doing it
Yeah.
yourself.
Just
you
do
know?
it do it yourself or do it
I
with
went to
your friends.
Discord in 2019. You know, 2020 didn't exist, never happened. You know, and it was just, you know, Ian gave me, you know, a tour. You know, it's kind of what he does, and it was just like, wow, this is incredibly inspiring to see so much out of this. You know, and it's something that's like, we're gonna do it this way, and we're gonna do it ourselves, and it became very, very successful, and supported an amazing time period and scene of music that's gone on to inspire so many people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and taking that on that more like the micro level, when I was helping put those shows together, you know, with people all over the country and younger people, just, you know, and then watching it all come together, and all the bands and these different scenes, and I still really, really have the same feeling I had when I was like 14 or 15. It's super inspiring to me.
Yeah.
You know, just to see this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you talk to him. I mean, he's you know, that whole thing is he literally, I mean, he has done exactly what he's wanted to do his whole fucking life. You know what I mean? And made it work, and made it successful. You know what I mean? And been kind, and never, you know what I mean? Like that's amazing. You know what I mean?
Again,
Like
that shows people that, well, you can do it too, man.
yeah, 100%. You know.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not to say people aren't. You know, there's a friend that's one of the co-owners of the Secretly group. It's like, man, that's an independent label. Secretly Canadian Jaguar Dead Oceans is a independent label.
Wow.
That, you know, their artists are playing, you know, arenas.
Yeah.
That Phoebe Bridgers is on SNL, and that's a DIY. They started that, you know.
Yeah.
And two brothers going to school in Bloomington. You know, and it's based on just some music that they were into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like,
if you stick with it, people will eventually get it.
you know, putting out songs Ohio and
Yeah.
Ativan and Race Bandit and stuff that, like, you know, at the time, like, it was pretty obscure
Yeah,
stuff.
it's like if you stick with it, who knows where the fuck this goes? And that's the one thing I've learned in life. It's just that there is no like end goal, but the ride is wild. You know.
I mean,
It's like
life's wild. Life's a wild ride, man.
What I mean, just thinking about like, you know, what we do for livings and stuff like that. There's how many times in your life have you been like, like you just take a step back for a quick second and go, where the fuck am I? What the fuck are we doing? Like how not even be tripped out on it. Be like, this is normal.
Yeah.
I know.
You know, just be like, oh no, yeah, this is normal. Like, but man, 13-year-old me would be like, holy shit, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dude, 100%.
Yeah.
I trip out on it all the time, especially in this last year where we've had so much time to think.
Yeah. You just
Like,
like
kind of thing. You're like, I'm still fucking here. Like, you know.
yeah.
I'm
Wow.
still doing this.
Yeah.
Like, I just bought a GBH shirt. What the fuck?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like,
I just opened up a fucking vegan restaurant in the fucking quarantine. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, what the fuck? This is, by the way, we're talking to you from it. This is the decor of the restaurant.
What's it called?
It's called Fatty Vegan.
Yeah. I think I heard something about that.
See,
Yeah.
yes, you have.
It's been
Yes,
all
you
over
have.
the
We've
interwebs,
we've been
dude.
open for a month, but we're just a fucking vegan punk rock hardcore spot in fucking Ventura.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I gotta make my way up there.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
great
yeah,
shit
yeah,
going
yeah.
on. Come and hang out, dude.
Yeah.
The Subhumans.
Yeah. We got subhumans. We got skate. That's it. There's all
After this is over,
skateboards.
we'll give you the virtual tour. There's
Cool.
fucking posters all
Yeah.
over the wall. You know.
Yeah, it's good. It's
Yeah,
good.
It's beautiful, man.
But yeah. I mean, but I mean, honestly, opening up a restaurant in this shit, it's like we've been able to do it because we're DIY punks. You know what I mean? Like where it was like anyone else in any other way, shape, or form would be like, yeah, nah. But we're like, oh shit, we could do it and get away and do it cheap. Like not cheap, but like cheap monetary. Yeah, not quality, but monetarily. Like, yo, we could pull this. We could pull this, you know? And we've been able to do it because of our DIY ethics and because of fucking just like put your head down, do it, and it'll come. And it's blown up. We've been open for 4 weeks and it's been blowing up.
Yeah, congratulations. That's
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. It's a trip. All of a sudden I'm a restaurateur. From tour manager to restaurateur in fucking one quarantine.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Amazing, man.
Yeah. It's a trip.
Wow.
So you got anything else coming up? I mean, radio show's going to keep you busy, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, so the radio show's every other Wednesday, and you know, I'm contracted for I think 6 months, so just kind of putting the programming together for that.
Do you like record that like throughout the week, or do you kind of like have a set day that you do it, or
Live.
You're going
you do it
live?
live?
Wow, yeah.
Fuck
Yeah,
it, you'll
yeah.
do it live. Nice.
Fuck it, we'll do it live, dude.
Studio downtown, and you know, it's 4 to 6 every other Wednesday, so it was last Wednesday, so I have this one off, and then the next one is I have a different co-host every episode, and then obviously a new guest. So
Yeah.
this week is the week after is Danny Miller. She sings in a group called Surfboard.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, no surfboard.
And then our guest is gonna be Danita Sparks from L7.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Dude.
So I'm really excited.
Hell yeah, man.
You know, different generations of
Yeah.
you know.
Different generations and along the same lines.
Yeah, you know.
It's like Danny's like the 2020 version of, you know, like what L7 would be after going through a blender and coming out the 2020 side, you know?
Yeah, and they're fans of each other and have become friends, and so I just want to have a really great conversation.
Hell yeah, man.
And I'm really I spoke to Flea about this. You know, I was like really interested and fascinated by artists like the Chili Peppers. I've never particularly been a Chili Peppers fan, but the fact that they came from the underground, you know, they started playing and they got some attention, and you know, it slowly built. They weren't an overnight success, but then it flipped, and they go from this underground thing to the world stage at a time that their peers, their contemporaries, it was happening at the same time. You know, so you had the L7s and you had the Nirvanas and the Jane's Addictions. And so what that is like to have a community flip over onto the world stage and all these sort of things happening. And I can't wait to kind of talk to Danita about it. You know, it's funny because Flea said, he was like, you know, there was the early 90s was a really interesting time because the music industry, you know, the overground music industry,
right,
that signed Nirvana, was really, really interested in signing credibility.
Oh yeah.
They were looking for credibility, and I remember this, you know, and that was something that was in discussion in the early 90s. It was like, are you selling out? Are you credible?
Yeah.
Did you come from the underground?
Posers, remember Posers?
Did you pay your dues, you know, like you know, Sonic Youth got signed, and you know, Nirvana had only put out an album, you know, prior to that, but you know, other bands like the Jesus Lizard got signed, and all these bands that have been out there, sort of the meat puppets and
Helmet, fucking all that, all that.
You know,
shit,
so these bands that actually came from the underground and done touring and stuff on their own, and there was this credibility thing, you know, that was part of a selling point, which is
part of the conversation, at least, you know.
Sort of fascinating, you know. You know, it's not really like that now. It doesn't mean that it won't be.
No, like nowadays when you talk to artists, they're like, what, selling out is a bad thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like not all.
Bro, why would you not want to do that?
And it's just a different thing. You know what I mean? It's a different thing now, as opposed to before. The mentality was, oh fuck no. You never, you remember, you know, like you were saying, the 90s, you never wanted to be deemed a sellout. Yeah. Once you were deemed a sellout.
It's just super interesting too, because you know, if you were an underground artist or an independent artist in the 80s, you know, and even the 90s, unless you signed to a major label, it was pretty hard to just play music.
Survive,
You know, so like you would see people like that. You would go see their show or whatever, and then you'd see them working at a
Yeah.
place or whatever.
Right.
You know, and it's really in the last 10 years you start to see independent artists that's like they're doing really well.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's because the culture of music in itself in America has changed. You know, like an independent artist on an independent label can make good money. You know, because like, you know, the festival thing used to be very European.
Mhm.
Festival season, you know, and the festival thing started to happen more. It's happened more and more in America, and artists can make more money playing a festival, you know, or these, you know, these events, and
Not only
it's
that,
cool.
being able to monetize your own music on YouTube, on Spotify, and all these things. Like I bring up that Oliver Tree dude all the time. It's fucking wild. That dude
But
just
also-
went
also have-
platinum.
Also,
You know what I
have
mean?
ways-
And is not signed to a label. You know?
also have alternative ways to sell merchandise, you know?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so it's in that respect, it's pretty fucking cool. You
It's
know?
way cool, dude.
Like and it's hopefully it'll get better, because I mean the arts in America is not an easy route. You know, the arts in other countries like Europe or Canada,
It's celebrated. It's valued.
well,
You know what I
and
mean?
it's
Yeah.
also subsidized.
Yeah.
Subsidized.
The
Yeah.
government actually they respect the arts, so it's like, well, let us help you because we know it's not easy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's super important. In America, it's just like, oh, you're still doing that?
Yeah. So, oh, you didn't grow up yet? Yeah.
You know, it's
Okay.
like, how old are you? Oh, you're still doing that?
Well, dude,
Like,
I remember having friends in bands that would try to go to Canada and claim they lived there so they could get some of that Canadian music fund money to record and shit. You know what I mean? You're like,
Yeah.
you're all, they give money for what? Like, what is that? You know what I mean? I remember Cursed, like, back in the day, they were like, yeah, fucking, you know, they got a $10,000 grant or something to fucking record their record from the government. And you're like,
I mean, you
huh?
know,
What? I'm sure it's not true.
Another
But, yeah.
like glaring thing with America, where it's like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
America.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the arts, we gotta pay to live, we gotta pay to die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, gotta pay for education. You gotta,
Yeah. All of it.
yeah.
But, you know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, dude. You know?
What if you don't have any boots?
Well, what if your laces are broken and the soles are falling off your fucking shoes? You know what I mean? And
What
one
if you
shoe's
afford the boots?
completely missing, you know? Yeah.
Someone stole the boots. Or,
Oh, my. It's fucking, anyway. It's crazy, man. I love it, man. Is there any, like, I mean, I know you mentioned, is there any other, like, bands or anything that are just, like, totally catching your attention right now? I know LA obviously
Yeah,
is
give us-
a fucking nightmare, but give us
Yeah,
a rundown.
Give us
What's
your top-
going on right now?
Give us your
in
top
LA?
3 favorites of 2021.
well, I'm
Or
just gonna give
2020.
you like more than that.
Oh,
More
perfect.
than 3.
Perfect.
You know, I think that there's a great amount of really, 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 really great music coming out of England. You know, there's this band Chubby and the Gang, which is Chubby Charles. He also is in this band, The Chisel.
Okay.
It's really incredible, and people that play in The Chisel and Chubby and the Gang also play in the band called Big Cheese.
Dude,
They're
these
all-
names are good.
They're all just phenomenal fucking punk bands. Like,
Okay.
so good. And you know, some of them were they used to be in this band called Arms Race, and they were in Violent Reaction. But there's just a lot of really good music coming from over there. There's this one man band called Rat Cage.
Okay.
That screams from the cage, man. That is just a fucking badass record.
Yeah.
There's a song on that record called "A Country for Idiots." That's just like it is the song of 2020. I really like this band Guild from Australia. They're on
Okay.
Iron Lung. They put out their second album last year, and it's like, man, somehow they seamlessly have blended this cacophony, this psychedelic cacophony of aggressive music.
Okay.
It's phenomenal. I really, really like them. There's this band that came out in 2019 called Electric Chair. Kind of remind me of like Battalion of Saints or something.
Okay.
I think they're from Olympia, maybe. You know, there's a lot of really good stuff coming out of Richmond. There's a cool label from over there.
Oh, Richmond's popping again, huh?
And there's a great label from there called 11 PM.
Okay.
put out this band Adderall and this band Armor and this band Protocol. Trying to think of some other stuff.
Richmond's always had bangers, dude.
And this band called Public Acid from North Carolina is just, they're on Beach Impediment, which is also a Richmond label. Unbelievable, just another just psychedelic cacophony of just brutality. But yeah, you know, there's just so much music, so much great music from the underground. If anyone that's always like, man, there's just no good music out there, it's like, you just stopped trying.
Yeah. Whenever somebody says it's the no good music came out since I was in high school, and you're lucky you work in the music industry.
Well, it's just like, you just stopped looking around.
Yeah, you just stopped trying.
You just want it handed to you, like,
or you stopped growing. You know what I mean? Like, you have to allow yourself to. You know, the world of shit I like now compared to when I was fucking 18 is like.
I believe
ridiculous,
that. I believe that like lots and lots of humans believe that once you become an adult, everything is supposed to just come to you, and you're not supposed to search for it anymore.
Yeah.
Like you're not like you're just like it's like why would I go look for that? I'm just gonna sit in my lazy boy in my living room.
Well, it's crazy because underground music is underground.
Yeah.
You have to. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you know, it's that thing too. It's like you find out about a couple things, and then you find out about a couple more things, and you know, it's really inspiring that it's still so vibrant. There's such great.
Yeah, I mean now as opposed to when people had to look at the thank you list of other bands to see what other bands. Now you watch their video on YouTube and look at recommended bands. That's what kids do nowadays.
Yeah,
and I still discover stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean rabbit holes are still a real thing.
Yeah, I mean it's like I just found this demo by this band called Contaminate. You know, like just stuff like that where I'm like, and it's cool too. It's like it stokes you out when you find shit like that too. You're like, and there's a lot. You know, there's a lot of there's just a lot of good music.
Yeah, the kids will always be out there. The kids will always be doing the thing.
And the adults, dude.
And the adults. Yeah. Well, you know, I guess I still call everyone kids.
Yeah, I know. I was talking about some guy I saw at a restaurant. He was like our waiter. I'm like, this kid. I'm like, he's probably a 30-year-old man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still calling him a kid.
Yeah.
It's like
ridiculous.
I think
there's something about this subculture that we're a part of that keeps us, you know, a certain percentage of us in that youthful adolescent mind state.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
You know I mean? It's like, you know, I think that mind state helps us relate to people of all ages. You know, where you know, like people, you know, like there's other people in our lives that hit 40, and you're like, I don't.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Other than like, you know, you get gas at the gas station and go to the grocery store. Like, what the fuck?
Your big day was the grocery store today.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like,
yeah.
You know, like I did it at fucking 32. It's like, no.
Yeah. It's a trip, man. Well, fuck, dude. Thanks so much for coming on the pod. Can you tell people where to find you? Do the, you know, anything you want to throw out there? You know, Instagrams, fucking all that.
Sam James Velde. I'm on all the standard stuff.
Yep.
The Twitters and the Instagrams and
the Twitch.
Even on TikTok, even though I haven't talked or
I love TikTok, dude. I love TikTok.
I get a kick out of it. But yeah, man. And let me know when does it air?
It'll be on Wednesday.
Okay, cool. Just give me a little thing and I'll send it out into the world. And
I got you. And I need to get your address. I found some old posters and flyers from us playing with you guys from Night Horse. So I was going through a stack of shit. So I'll get all that stuff. I'll shoot you a message.
Yeah, man.
Beautiful, man. Well, dude, thanks so much. It was awesome to catch up, and I guess we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, all right, thanks for coming on, bud.
Love you, bud.
Later.